There we go. All right. Welcome to today's session about Microsoft Copilot with Excel and Outlook. It's a super, super powerful tool. If you haven't had a chance to play around with it, you'll be really impressed. My name is Andrew. I'm a VCIO here at Smart Dolphins, and I spend a lot of time talking to business leaders about ways to get the most out of their technology. And it's really hard to deny the benefit that you could get from using AI tools, especially ones that are integrated right into your environment like Copilot. So we'll check that out today. Before jumping in, I want to share a couple of our upcoming training sessions here. On August 8th, we've got one on Microsoft Forms. That's another really great tool to gain some leverage with, automate stuff and change some of your old Word templates into some forms that you can gather information from a little more easily. We have Microsoft Loop getting started on the 15th, another tool that helps with planning and bringing things together, getting a bunch of input from people. And then Microsoft Planner, which is a very simple but powerful tool that you can use with lots of the other Microsoft 365 tools. If you do have any questions today, please type them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer as we go along, but we also save some time at the end for Q&A if you have a larger question or don't get a chance to inject something during the presentation. We also have a handout for today that'll be put in the chat there, so feel free to download that and follow along. If you can't find it, just throw a message in the chat. We'll make sure we get a copy of that to you. And now I would like to introduce our trainer, Jolynn. It's our pleasure to welcome Jolynn. She stands out as a Microsoft Master Trainer and instructor, having over 30 years of experience. Thank you for joining us today, Jolynn.
Thank you, Andrew. So welcome everybody to our session today on, like Andrew said, using Copilot, but specifically with Excel and Outlook. I personally think that these have been one of my favorite things that have happened recently. I say that a lot with this is my favorite, this is my favorite. I've got a lot of favorites, but once you see how Copilot can actually be utilized, you're going to be surprised at the efficiency. So I always love doing sessions where I can be demonstrating how we can actually be saving time, which of course, when you're saving time, things are running more efficiently for us. So Copilot is definitely going to be a tool to help us. Now, just wanted to start out by saying Copilot is not necessarily free. So it is something that your organization would subscribe to. Just so you know, you can purchase it as an individual person, but usually if it's through your business, because that's where you'd be using it from, depending on your licensing, will depend on the overall cost per user. So it is something that is not for free included with your Microsoft 365, but it works directly with 365. And you're going to definitely see that here today. So I'm going to actually be starting in the Copilot app. And that's going to be the first topic for you in your handout, talking about the app itself. Now, the reason I'm talking about the app is because the app is fully integrated with Excel, Outlook, which are our main focuses today, but it's also integrated with the other pieces of Microsoft 365. So Copilot in general works across the board, but when we're utilizing features like Outlook and Excel, we can be utilizing Copilot and accessing other information as well, coming from different apps. And you'll see an example of that here today. We can open Copilot multiple ways. The way I'm going to start today is by going to my Microsoft account. So I basically went onto a web browser, went into my Microsoft account. On the left-hand side, I have a shortcut directly for Copilot. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and it will open up the Copilot app. I'll show you when I get to Outlook how you can open it now directly through Outlook as well with the latest updates. So everything that I'm going to be showing you today is the updated as of today, which is July 25th, 2024, because of course, this is a relatively new feature. AI has been around for quite a few years now, but we started with ChatGPT. Microsoft built Copilot, which is similar to ChatGPT. But Copilot, the reason I use this over ChatGPT is we have direct connection to all of our Microsoft 365 apps when we're utilizing Copilot. Not that we can't do some things in ChatGPT, but it's not like this, and it never will be. Copilot is the AI version of ChatGPT, but with our 365. So let me just kind of run you through what exactly you might use this for. What are some features that we have? Now, before I get started, just so you know, my computer has been having some issues. I've tried leaving, coming back in. So if you see any slowness, I apologize right up front. But speaking of slowness, Copilot is not the most speediest tool out there. Depending on what you're having it analyze, it might be a little slow. So be patient with it. I know because well, I don't know, I guess, but I've read information out on the internet about the fact that Microsoft is working on the speed of it to speed it up, but it can analyze, like when we talk about Excel, it can analyze 2 million rows of information. So if you're doing that, it's going to be a little sluggish when it's trying to analyze that much data at one time. So anyway, with that being said, I want to kind of go over what do you have and what would you use when you are in the Copilot app. And by the way, my new laptop has a Copilot button. I can actually click my Copilot button on my laptop to automatically open Copilot. Pretty cool. I love my new laptop. But anyway, just so you can see, we have these 6 different icons, which these little tiles are really prompts. So one of the big things with any of the AI tools that are available these days is prompting. So we'll talk about some good prompts versus bad prompts. Sometimes when we put in a prompt, the computer's not going to understand. The application doesn't understand what we're trying to ask it. So sometimes we have to rephrase it and give it deeper information. Now I'll get to some examples of that here in a second. But anyway, what you're seeing is these are some suggestions of what it is that you can be using Copilot for. One of them that I use on a regular basis, and I'm talking like every couple of days kind of a scenario, is what's new. This tile here called what's new. What's the latest from whoever the person is? And it can organize it by emails, chats, and files. So it's going to group what's new based on a specific user. So I'm going to show you that one because it's one of my favorite things to use here. So once you click on it, it jumps you down to the chat window itself at the bottom of the screen. And what it does is a slash. And I have some information about using slashes in your handout, but basically it's prompting to say, what's the latest from? And then it gave me a pop-up menu. From that pop-up menu, I only have a couple of users on the account that you're seeing here today. So I could choose from one of those people. And by the way, from this pop-up menu, notice that it says all people, files, meetings, and emails. We can have it automatically focus on those different categories with that slash. So the slash brings up this menu. It's a command to the computer to prompt us for more detail. I'm going to click student 1. And as it said, I could have started typing the person's name. Organized by emails, chats, and files. I can see that it says student 1. If I changed my mind on the person, I could click the X to remove them. But I'm going to go to the bottom right, and I'm going to click the send icon. Looks like a little paper airplane. Once I do that, it automatically sends the prompt to the chat in Copilot, and it will bring back the responses once it analyzes everything. So think about what it's doing. It's going out to your entire system of your 365, looking for that person, student 1, in my case, and it's going to bring back the information related from that person. This is unbelievable. It is impressive and even how quick it is, and my computer's a little slow, and it's still super quick on what it just did. If you kind of think about how could you do that personally, it's going to take you a lot longer than what this just did. So you can see that it brought up files and it tells me here's the name of the file, when it was modified, and it was by student one and myself, etc. Here's some chat information. And then it even says, please let me know if you need more detailed information on any of these items. And it even gives me a link down below related to the items that it's referring to. Notice that it actually gives a little footnote here, little end note, giving us letting us know that it's this file that it's referring to down at the bottom. There have been some really, I mean, I think Microsoft really put a lot into this and really thought about what's going to be the easiest way for people to access information. I think they've gone above and beyond giving us capabilities as of today, and I know there'll be even more enhancements coming in the future. So I'm super excited for even what's going to happen over the next few months. But you can see I could automatically open any of these if I needed to. So let's say that I want to open up this Excel Part 2 PM class, this PowerPoint presentation. I can open it directly from there. I don't have to worry about going someplace else to find the file and open it. If it's referring to it right there, I can actually go into it. So I think that's pretty great that we have such quick, easy access to getting information. Now, I'm not really going to keep it open. I'm going to go ahead and close it, but just so you could see how interactive everything really is. So if I wanted to copy the results of this, I could click the copy button down at the bottom. So anyway, I'm not going to do any more with that. I just wanted you to see an example of how that worked. If I wanted to continue with more questions about anything, I could continue down at the chat down at the bottom. But what if I want to go back into more prompts, or I want to use a different prompt that originally was at the top of the window? On the right-hand side, I can click View Prompts. That's going to take me back in and show me the 6 that I originally saw when I came in. And if you look at any of these, start the conversation, so suggest common questions that can be asked, also tracking your tasks. So it's what should be on my radar for emails last week. Isn't that fantastic? So this is directly connected with Outlook. So when we get to Outlook, think about these things. This can be done directly within the Copilot app. I don't even have to be in Outlook to do these kind of things. Also track what's important, summarize messages based on my manager or from my manager or whoever I choose based on the last 48 hours. Because what if you were gone? What if you actually had a couple of days off? We could actually come back in and use Copilot to catch up and find out what we missed. Unbelievable to have this assistant like Copilot to be able to help us with that information. Also, there's this one called Don't Miss Out, where it can summarize Teams messages where there was an @ mention of myself. Catch up fast, what's new in my inbox. I'm going to go ahead and click on that one because that's another one that I like to use on a regular basis. And it's going to go out and it's going to analyze my Outlook. Look how quick it was. I didn't even hesitate and it was already here. It says summarize my last 10 emails, combine any emails that are multiple threads of conversations. I'm going to go ahead and click send, so that it automatically will give me the results of that default prompt that it was doing. So it's combing through my emails to find that relevant information that has been related to the past, 48 hours or whatever we're telling it at the time. So you could see that it's summarizing all of my messages for me. I really like this. It's doing things that I never even dreamed a software could do for me. So anyway, I won't go any further about this, but just so you're kind of seeing what has been happening. Now, by the way, on the bottom of each of these, it's giving me a bulleted list. If I wanted to analyze any of these further, it's actually giving me some suggestions on what it is that I could say. Just so you can see, it's also giving me additional features. But with that all being said, I'm going to actually go back to view prompts one more time. So at the bottom right, I clicked view prompts because these 6 are not the only ones that we get. If I scroll down, there's maximize your time, get calendar information, understand things quickly, based on files, etc., brainstorm things. Look at all these different options that it's giving me. But this isn't even all of it. Up at the top, it's filtered based on task, but I could say I want it to be based on catch up, learn, ask, create. Or at the bottom right, I can go into see all prompts. See all prompts is going to open up what is referred to as the Copilot lab. And this lab is going to give you all these different prompts to try. So it's going to give you a big long list of all these different prompts that you can try. And down at the bottom, it's got different facts. And this is actually something I would recommend kind of checking out, because what are Copilot prompts? You want to make sure that you're doing good prompts to get good results. We don't want you being frustrated on this thing doesn't work because we don't type it in or ask it correctly or in the right manner for it to understand. People can get frustrated. So make sure you're doing good prompts. And we'll be seeing some examples, especially in Excel for that. But just so you're seeing what you get when you come into the Copilot lab. Up at the top, you're also going to see in the Copilot lab, there's a getting started and there's a what's new. What's new can be important because what is new compared to the last update. So what has been the latest updates in Copilot? And it's not just going to be for Excel and Outlook, it's going to be for all of the different apps. So here's what came out in June. Here's some improvements that based on people's feedback, because if you give the application feedback, if a lot of people say the same things, Microsoft's going to check into those. You could go into different updates from past months. So highly recommend checking all those out. Now I'm just going to close the lab. So I'm technically back here in Copilot again, and I'm going to close this prompts window. So I'm just back at my original window where I was. And I'm going to actually jump back up to the top right of this Copilot lab. I'm going to click on new chat. Just so you know, it takes you back to the beginning window again. But also at the top right is a ... which of course is always a menu. If you click on that, what you're going to see is the about, which gives you information about Copilot. I could go back into my Copilot chats, which is my historical information. It's my historical information. So I can see the last one that I did was what was the latest from student 1, but I want to show you this one because this is something that I actually have Copilot do for me a lot, and I can do this directly within the file, or if I'm in the app and I think, oh my goodness, you know what? I really need to get some VBA code to have my computer do this for me in this file. I can actually attach a file and then give it what I want it to do to analyze that file. So what I did here was I attached this file called class list, and I said, create VBA code that will copy the name and email to a new sheet and format the data as bold. So it gave me the VBA code that I can now copy and paste into a module by opening up Visual Basics application. So just so you can see how powerful it is just by using this app alone. So I can go back to any of my previous ones. By the way, it even can take you directly into settings on your computer. Just so you know the power of it, it can work with your Windows. It can be working with your Microsoft 365 apps. Sky's the limit. It's kind of crazy. But back to that slash again, just to remind you of what I mentioned earlier. If I go to the chat down at the bottom and I type a slash, it brings up that menu that I mentioned where I can be on the all category, or I can be referencing a person. I can reference a file, and it's going to show me my recent files. So like as an example, if I want to go into this scope statement template, I can have this Copilot app analyze that template. So now it has it here. I can ask questions about it. Like, give me a summary, summarize this document. And it can do whatever it is that you tell it to do. So it can work with Outlook related features, it can work with Excel related features, and it can work with your other 365 apps. So sometimes I'm here and because I'm in this all the time, and I just want to have it analyze an Excel file for me or do something through Outlook. I don't have to go back to Excel or back to Outlook to utilize it. I can actually do it right from here. So anyway, just so you can see, it analyzed this file that I had for this scope statement that I told it to analyze, and it gave me a summary of it. So pretty cool that it can do that. But this is not the only way to open the Copilot app. I could be in Microsoft Teams, add it to the menu bar on the left-hand side and open Copilot that way. Or actually, it's available in the chat as well. But I use it more conveniently on the left-hand side than having to go to chat and click on it. But it's also in Outlook, so I'll show you that here in just a second. So let me transition over to Excel and talk a little bit more about how to use Copilot in Excel. So I have an Excel file that I already have open that I'm going to use as a kind of a demonstration for a couple of different features built in. Please keep in mind, though, that it can't do everything. And when it was first released for Excel, the data you wanted it to analyze had to be a table. Originally, it had to be a table. We don't need it to be a table anymore. But there are some guidelines that your range of data needs to be set up a specific way. So let me show you what I'm talking about with this. So in the category in your handout for the Copilot with Excel, which starts on page 6 of your handout, it talks about the different ways that we can use Copilot in Excel, which includes doing data analysis. It can do some modeling, it can do visualization, it can write formulas, it can do formatting, it can sort, filter, etc. It can create charts, it can create pivot tables now, all kinds of different things. But on page 7 is where it talks about Excel tables. So sometimes you still have to have your data range within a table to be able to use Copilot. So if I happen to, and just to give you an example, if, let me get back to my Excel file. Sorry, I accidentally closed it. But let me just open that Excel file back up here. And if I am clicked within this range of the names and the quarters, whatever, if I go to open Copilot, and by the way, just so you know, every time you go to a Microsoft app, you'll find the Copilot on the home tab of the ribbon. In most of the apps, sometimes it won't be directly there. You have to do something else to find it. But just so you know, the color inside the logo, the icon there, it's matching the color of your application. So when I see Copilot here in Excel, the color is green. If I'm in PowerPoint, it matches the eggplant color. If I'm in Outlook, it's blue, etc. So it matches the color of the application. But if I click Copilot, we'll see if it recognizes this as a range of data, because there's some rules that it looks for. Otherwise, it's going to tell me that it needs to be in a table. But if you look at the bottom, it goes all the way through page 7 to talk about how to turn it into a table. Mine recognized it. So it didn't say I had to turn it into a table, but if it comes back and says your data needs to be in a table, then you could just go to the ribbon, click the Insert tab, and then click Table, and it would turn your range of cells into a table, where it's going to automatically have the header row. You will get freeze panes. It will give you sorting and filtering by default, that kind of thing. But mine didn't come up saying that, so I'm okay. I don't need it to be in a table. This is a very new update. When this first came out, we had to have everything in a table or it didn't work at all. So at the top of page 8, it talks about new in June, use a range of data with Copilot. That's what this is. So what it needs, though, to make sure that it can recognize your range, only one header row. The header is only going to be on columns, not on rows. And headers are unique. There's no 2 headers with the same data. No blank headers. Data is formatted in a consistent way. You don't have any subtotals or empty rows or columns, and no merge cells. Definitely no merge cells. So if you have data that's merged together, you wouldn't be able to use Copilot in it. You'd want to get rid of the merged, and then it will work. Okay. But how do we analyze data? By using Copilot. If you look at the right-hand side where Copilot opens, you're going to see 4 different icons up at the top where it says create, edit for highlight, edit for sort and filter, and understand or analyze your data. I'm going to start out by just saying create by adding a formula column. By doing that, it actually analyzes my range of cells. So it always has to recognize that range so it knows what we want it to do. So it says I can quickly add new columns with formulas, select a suggested prompt or describe what columns you'd like to add. So basically I could say, I want to go down to what they are telling me, add a column to compare quarters 3 and 4. So that's what it is suggesting to me, that I could add a column to compare those. Well, that's not really what I want it to do. Maybe I want it to give me an average based on each name going across for each of the quarters or whatever it is I want it to do. I can just simply go down to the comment box at the bottom and start typing. But I got to tell you, I don't do that very much, because notice there's a microphone down at the bottom right. I can actually talk to it. So instead of typing, I usually just talk to it. Add a new formula in column H to give me the average based on each row going across. I'll just say that and click send. Let's see what it comes back with. Oops, sorry. It's still hearing me. Sorry about that. It was still hearing me. So let me see if it comes back with any good results here for me. Okay. So it's generating a formula column, and it's looking at that range of data of A4 through G9, and it comes back with an average, and it says, hey, is this what you want me to insert? And it's actually showing me the formula that it's actually going to use. If I want to insert this, notice when I hesitate on insert column, it shows me a live preview of what it would look like. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and it automatically gives me that as a new column in column H. So that's pretty easy to have the computer do that for me just by telling it what I want it to do. Now, when it comes to working with formulas, though, that's where I use it a lot, because sometimes I don't know for sure what the formula is that I even want to do. So sometimes I'm not quite sure. So there's a lot of different ways that we can be working with this information. And as a matter of fact, while I'm on this sheet, let me show you another example of how I use this. I'm going to actually tell it that I would like to have a chart based on the names and quarter 1. I want to have a pie chart. By the way, when it comes to prompting, be specific. So we need to, when we're talking about columns and rows, I need to make sure that I'm telling it the name of the columns that I want it to be analyzing. So I'm going to say that I want to have Copilot create a pie chart, maybe even a 3D pie chart based on the name in quarter 1. So let me click in the box. I'm going to click my microphone again. Create a 3D pie chart based on the name and quarter 1. So I clicked my send, and it automatically will now show me, and this is where it's a little bit unique now. On the right-hand side, it's analyzing it, and then what it's going to do is it's going to bring back an image of that actual chart, and then it's going to actually give me a summary on it as well. That's actually pretty cool, because did I just want to see it, or do I want to use it? I don't want it to and it says it's unable to do that. The answer language does not support 3D visualizations. I didn't know that. I never tried 3D. So it's telling me it can't do 3D. So let me try it again. Create a pie chart based on the columns name and quarter 1. Now let me see if it will work because I didn't say 3D. Andrew, did someone have a question?
Yeah, Braden is asking, does Copilot often take a manual approach to your requests in Excel as it did with the average rather than using formulas?
Yes. As of right now, yes, it does. So nothing is going to be automatic, and the formulas that it gives you may not be the formula that you would actually use either, but it will give you one of the results of a formula. Because just like in all Microsoft apps, there's always more than one way to do things. So of course, there's always 5 different ways to do one formula. So it's kind of strange on how that works, but it's based on how it was taught. Now, is that going to change? Would it come back with a different response in a couple of months? Could be. You know, it's been improving and making changes. But as you can see, it automatically created the pie chart for me, and it gave me this little description of it, and it wants to know if I want to add it to a new sheet. If I click add to new sheet, it's going to create a new sheet and put that pie chart there. But what it's doing is creating it as a pivot. So it's technically not just a pie chart. The reason it's putting it on a new sheet is because it's physically a pivot table with I should say a pivot chart with the pivot table background, just so you know what it's actually doing, which is pretty cool. But let me show you a few other things besides formulas. If I have time, I'll come back and do a few more formulas with you, or maybe I'll do some more as we go. But let me talk about doing some additional data analysis when it comes to working with different examples in Excel here. So I'm on a worksheet that has the Outlander Spices employees information. And I'm just going to, let me go back to the home tab and let me show you, if I close Copilot, sorry, let me click on the X and close Copilot. I want to show you how it's going to analyze this, but notice that my row 1 is a heading, a title, and then my headings for my range is row 2. If I click Copilot, will it be okay, or do I need to have this put into an actual table? So that's why I kind of practice with this and kind of figure out, is it going to work, or do I have to put it in a table for it to work correctly? So it actually was okay. But you can see that right now it came back and it's showing me the same things that it had before. But I wanted to analyze this range of data that I'm actually in right now. And let's say that I wanted to put the name, the first name, in a new column and have it be lowercase. Now, technically, I could use other commands to be able to do that, but just so you can see, I can actually have Copilot do that for me. So I'm going to click in the box on the bottom. I'm going to click my microphone. Extract the first name from the name column and change the casing to proper and put it in column E. I may not have said that exactly correct. I kind of lost what I was wanting it to do, but let's see if it understands it. So it's analyzing the data. And by the way, it's looking at A2, so it was smart enough to know A2 was the heading. So it came back and it says, okay, here it is, extract that information. Do I want to add it into a new column? One thing that it didn't do was change the casing. So let me go ahead and have it insert it. And now I have this first name column. Let me see if I can get it to actually change the casing. Oh, and by the way, it also is giving me some suggestions down at the bottom. I could click on how to highlight, filter, and sort the data as well, but I'll do that in another worksheet here in a second. But let me see if I can get it to change the casing, which I've never done on its own like this. Change the casing for the first name column to be proper casing. Let's see if it will do that for me. I haven't tried that one yet. This is how I learn about it, is to try all these different things, because that's how we kind of figure things out. So anyway, I'll see if it will automatically do that for me. Change the key scene for the first name column to be proper casing. So let's see if it will actually do that for me. Done. I don't see it's done. That's not proper casing. So it really didn't do that. it really kept it. So maybe it wasn't understanding what it was that I was telling it to do. And notice when I'm on any of these first names, it actually did it as a formula. And I could change the formula. So I could come up here and I could change it from upper to proper. Just so you can see, I could do that. Oops, did I have a... Oh. So now I can do it myself, but I wanted the computer to do it for me. But just so you could see, I could change that. But let me do just a couple of other things here real quick in Excel, and so I can get to Outlook on some things. But what if I wanted the computer to analyze information based on a date range? Maybe I wanted to have everything in from May 1st through May 15th, highlight the column for the Northeast, the numbers for the Northeast. Whatever it is you want it to do, it can automatically do that. So if I click in the box again, sorry, I'm going to close it and reopen it. I was going to do a new chat here. It has to analyze my new range of data, but let me click in the box down below. Oh, look what it came up with. No data selected from an Excel table or data range. So it's not recognizing this because the top row is not formatted. So that's why it wasn't recognizing it. So let me format it differently than the rest of the data, and I should be able to refresh this and it should be able to see it okay, instead of me having to turn it into a table. Oops, sorry. Let me close that and reopen that real quick, just so you can see that. So what I'm going to tell it to do then, so now it will recognize it because that's what it does. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, it's still not doing it. So it is forcing me to turn it into a table, which is fine. I'll go ahead and turn it into a table. Just so you know, sometimes it's going to do that. Now I can analyze the data. Let me click on a cell there. So now I'm going to tell it that format the Northeast column for the date range of May 1st, 2023 through May 15th, 2023 with a green font color. So it's going to analyze that range of data and come back and perform that action. So it's pretty cool how all of that can be done just by us prompting Copilot to do it. It even can, we can say, tell me who had the highest number for the Southeast column for this date range, or whatever the case would be. Now, it didn't understand everything that I did May 1st through May 15th. Oh, May 1st, it didn't hear me right. So it did, no, May 15th it was supposed to be. I apologize for the inconvenience, but currently unavailable to format that. So anyway, just so you know, it told me it was unable to do it, but normally it would work just fine. I've been having some issues here. Sorry about that. But it is unbelievable what it actually can go out there and do. You can tell it, I want to get a sum of just the prior year based on the region East. You know, different things like that. You can use Copilot in Excel to analyze that information. I could spend all day just talking about what we can do in Excel. If I have time, I'll come back to Excel. But let me jump over to talking about Outlook for a minute. If I have time, I'll come back and do a couple of other things in Excel. So once I actually come into Outlook, Copilot is available, but you're not seeing it on my ribbon per se. It's available, but I don't see the icon as of right now. I'll see it in a minute. But what if I'm on an email that was part of a conversation? One of the things that I do on a very regular basis is I do the conversation cleanup a lot to clean out those old messages. But what if I wanted it to summarize that whole string of conversation? We can do that by simply going to the reading pane. So if you're not currently in the reading pane while you're using Outlook, go to the View tab of the ribbon. On the right-hand side in the Layout group, click Reading pane and then choose Write. So on the reading pane on the right-hand side, whatever email you're selected on, you can click summarize. At the top right, when you click summarize, it's going to analyze the entire email string and it's going to come back and give you a summary of the entire conversation of that message. I use this all the time because I think this is fantastic. But notice what it's doing. It's giving me my end notes again. I can go to those end notes, click on it, and it can actually navigate me to that part of the conversation that it was referring to. So it's a great interactive tool. So when I clicked on it, it actually took me to this message because this was the part of the message that what I clicked on was related to with that summarization. Love this feature. Now I can go to the top right underneath that summarize, and I can click the X to close that summarization, just so you know. How else might I use this? Well, let's say that I go to reply to a message. I click reply, I click forward, whatever the case might be. And let's say that I want to send a message back to this person, but I want to actually write it in a specific way, but I don't know how to say it. This is where Outlook Copilot is fantastic. Notice Copilot automatically is on the screen because I'm replying or forwarding or creating a new message. I will be, and right now I'm on the message tab, or even if I go to the top right and I click pop out, it's going to work the same way. So whether I'm in the reply, the forward, or I'm in a brand new message and I pop the message out, I will have Copilot. Notice the color of Copilot matches the color of Outlook. Kind of a nice little thing. I kind of think it's a nice feature. But we could do draft with Copilot or we could do coaching with Copilot. I'm going to actually use coaching with Copilot because what it does is it brings up coaching by Copilot to get coaching for better, more well-crafted emails. Type in at least 100 characters. So what it's telling me is that I need to give it a description of what I need to write. Let this, oops, sorry. That was me. This customer this is a new customer. Maybe I'll say that. This is a new customer, and I want to tell them welcome to our company and see what we can do for them, blah, blah, blah. So I would put in what it is that I'm looking for help on. Over at the right-hand side, I can click on Try Draft with Copilot. So it can actually take what it is that I was typing in, and I can actually generate a response to see what Copilot can do for what I'm trying to type in. So sometimes I'm at a loss for words. You know how some days can be very creative on what you want to say and everything comes out great? Well, that doesn't happen to me a lot, especially lately. I've been kind of busy. And so I really like Copilot to help me with that. So here's what it came back with, which is a lot better than I could have come up with. We are delighted to have you as a new customer and want to extend a warm welcome to our company. Our team is committed to providing blah, blah, blah. You can see, is there anything you'd like to change? Maybe I don't want it to say, don't mention look forward. And I could say regenerate. So if I like it, but I want to kind of change a couple of things, I can have it go ahead and change it and will give me a different response. So up at the top, it says now, it's a pleasure to welcome you to our company. We are thrilled to have you as a new customer, blah, blah, blah. So it basically rephrased it and took out whatever it is that I asked it to change. Isn't that great? We don't have to keep redoing it ourselves. Let Copilot do that for you instead. And when you look at the responses on this little window here for this additional feature that we have, I can go to adjust. And you're going to see this in a lot of different places, but I could say make it longer, make it shorter, make it sound more formal, more direct, or more casual, or make it a poem. Now, of course, I probably wouldn't have it make it a poem for my client, but Maybe I want it to be a little bit longer. Oops, now it's telling me something went wrong. So let me just click regenerate and see what it comes back with. So it didn't know what I wanted, or my computer kind of slowed or whatever. So we are thrilled to have you as a new customer. So it did some adjustments to that and made it, I don't know that it made it a little bit longer, but let me say, make it sound more casual, because we have the ability of having it be in whatever tone you want it to be. And by the way, when it comes to prompting, especially in a situation like this, I could actually tell the Copilot what tone I want it to use. In a semi funny tone, write this or whatever it is that we tell it to do, just so you know that it can do all of that. So we can have it work with us when it comes to actually utilizing the feedback that it's going to give us, which is pretty cool that it could do that. So just so you know, in your handout, by the way, we started on page 11 with the Outlook for Copilot. It is somewhat limited as of today on everything that it can do. I know that there are some enhancements for Outlook, but remember, we can use Outlook from the Copilot app. So it was directly connected with analyzing emails and different things directly from the app. So what I've shown you so far was just summarizing an email based on a conversation string, and now really just how we can use it with kind of helping us to write something. But let me actually do a different example here. I'm going to close this and I'm going to say I don't want to save the changes. And let's say I have another message that I actually need to work with. So let me give you an example of, let's say that I already have something written. I go to an email and I'll just reply to this message. Come on. I know I clicked reply. Sorry, I told you my computer was being a little weird today. But I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, please let me know if you have any questions or need anything else. I look forward to hearing from you. And what if I want to kind of change the way that this is worded? Sometimes you want to mix things up on the way you said things. It can help us do that. So once again, I have my Copilot because I'm replying, forwarding, or creating a new message. So if I go to Copilot, I can click on Draft with Copilot. This is going to open up a similar window where it automatically has the data that I was selected on. So it automatically inserted it. I could have started by going to the coaching, but I went straight into, because I already had the existing text. And I'm going to go to the right-hand side and click generate. Now, I didn't change any of the tone or anything like that before I did this. So here's what it comes back with. Please let me know if you have any questions or need anything. I look forward to hearing from you. So it changed the formality of the way that it was listed. But if I don't know if I want that, I could do the same thing that I did before, where I could, anything you'd like to change, I could go back in and change it. So we have the ability to really have Copilot help us to draft a brand new message. We can have it help with responding to an existing message. We can have it help us write it from scratch, saying, here's what my topic is. What can you do? How can you, what would you put in that letter or that email to say these things? If you wanted to, once again, go back into the adjust, you can make it longer, shorter, and all those things like we saw before, and then just simply regenerate it. Even if I don't change the tone or do any adjustments to it, I can click regenerate to have it give me a different response. So now it came back with, please let me know if you have any questions or need anything else. I look forward to hearing from you. If I want to get another example of how I might say this, I could say regenerate. As soon as I find one that I like, I can say keep it. So if I decide this third one that it gave me that I like this one, I can go ahead and click keep. Once you click keep, it automatically has that inserted. But of course, if you still decided later that I want to go back and change this, you have Copilot right at your fingertips. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be available here, so you'll be able to use it. Now, when it comes to using Copilot in Outlook, that's what we're going to get when we're in the app directly here. I use it a lot by going to the Copilot app itself instead of being in Outlook. And look on my left-hand side. I have the updated version of Outlook, and I have my Copilot icon automatically on the left. So if I'm drafting a new message or whatever it is that I'm doing and I want to do additional things, I can do that by using the Copilot app. So this is another way to access the Copilot app. So if I click on it, I get exactly what I saw before. So to be honest, I never go to the internet, log into my Microsoft account, and open Copilot from there. This is how I usually use it. And once again, you're going to see the same things that we saw before on those basic prompts that you get. So you're seeing track what's important, don't miss out, catch up from your inbox, track your tasks. And let me go ahead and do that one. I'm going to say track your tasks. What should be on my radar from emails last week? This has saved me so much time and headache. So it automatically added that to my chat down at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and click send. It's going to analyze that inbox and tell me what I need to know about going on with, what should be on my radar for tasks based on my emails. It's going to scan through those. If I personally had emails, I would have to go back to my emails and scan through all of them. But here it's going to do it all for me. So I don't have to worry about going back and doing it myself. My computer's going to go back and do it for me. So by having Copilot right there, I can have it analyze it. But if I need to go back to my inbox, I go back to my inbox like I normally would. But if I need Copilot, I click on Copilot and it's going to bring me right back here. Even if I need to get back to a historical chat that I did before, I go to the top right, click on Copilot chats, and I can jump back into any of my previous chats. So I really think that utilizing Copilot is something that I do every single day. Seriously, I'm in it all day long because I'm writing a lot of emails, and I hate to say this, but some of the verbiage that I've used the same stuff for years. And I'm talking 10, 15, 20 years. I've said it the same way. And I need new ways of saying things, keeping up with the times and, just kind of saying things differently. I'm not 20 anymore either. So, I wanted to kind of be a little bit different. So just so you can see, it can do that. Copilot is right here at our fingertips. Now, I'm done with kind of the Outlook side of things. So I do want to jump back to Excel because we have a minute or so. So let me jump back to Excel. And what I want to do is I'm going to go to this worksheet called company orders. And I'm going to turn this into, let me turn it into a table just to make sure it's going to analyze it. So I'm going to click table. I'm going to say, okay, so now this is actually in a table. And I'm going to have Copilot analyze this data for me. One thing that I didn't show you yet in Copilot is the fact that it can sort and filter your data. So first off, I'm going to tell it to sort. So I'm going to go to the chat on the right-hand side. Sort alphabetically A to Z in the country column. Isn't it great to be able to talk to it? So anytime you see that microphone, you can talk directly to it, because otherwise I was saying it in my head as I'm typing it. And to be honest, I don't care for typing. I'm not very good at it. So it's almost there. It's telling me it's going to sort alphabetically A to Z in the country column, and boom, it did it. So you can see on the right-hand side, it says done. I sorted the table by country column in ascending order. If I wanted to undo it, I can, or I could even copy that data. Excuse me. But let me show you how it can also filter. So let's say that I want to filter by Laura Callahan. I'm going to go to my microphone again. Filter this list by salesperson, Laura Callahan. Sounded like I put a D on the end of there, but it knew the name because it analyzed the data, so it knew that. So it will automatically do that for me. So, and by the way, I'm using this all day long here in Excel because a lot of times I'm in a meeting and somebody's going to ask a question about the data. Well, I just ask Copilot to give me the answer to the question. So whatever it is somebody asks, I just go to Copilot and ask that, have Copilot answer that question. So it just applied that filter for Laura Callahan. Now I'm going to tell it to remove the filter. Clear all filters. So just so you know, it can do that as well. But also I'm going to have it create a pivot table for me because that's something I do have it do on a very regular basis. Usually it's not quite this slow. I know it's my computer because I do this type of thing all the time and that's not that much data, but it did clear the filter. But now let me have it make a pivot table. Create a pivot table based on country, then salesperson, then extended price. So it will automatically generate it like it did earlier with the chart. It's going to show it. Then I can choose if I want to insert it. Some things it will automatically do, but most of these it shows you the results of it, and then we tell it if we want it to insert it into a new sheet. So it's analyzing my range of data. Now, keep in mind that if you have 1,000,000 rows, that kind of a thing, and 400 columns going across, it is going to be a little sluggish, but think about what it's doing. I mean, it's pretty fantastic what it's doing. So here it automatically is showing me the results. Then I can add it to a new sheet and it actually gave me a summary of it and I could copy that as well. So I'm going to say add to a new sheet and I automatically have the pivot table based on the information that I told it to do. Now it did do a cross tab pivot table automatically, just so you're noticing, but of course I could very easily change that just by using the pivot table tools like you normally would. But I got to tell you, having Copilot to use these types of features is such an efficient way to do things. It's unbelievable. But one last thing before our time is up. I'm going to go back to company orders again, and I'm going to ask it a question about this data. Which salesperson had the most quantities in the month of April 2021? A little bit older of data, but just so you could see, I can give it specific information based on whatever columns of data I have. So which salesperson had the most quantities? I didn't say that very well, but quantities in the month of April 2021. I might want to say that a little bit differently next time with my prompt, but you get the idea of what it actually can do. So it's actually showing me Andrew Fuller has a sum of 1091. So it says in April 2021, Andrew Fuller had the most quantities with a total of, see the query results above message for the details. So that's why I use this in meetings, because if somebody has a question about something, all I have to do is ask Copilot and it's going to automatically generate the answer. If I need to place it somewhere, of course, I can place it on a new sheet because basically it's going to give me a pivot table with that answer. So a lot of times the answer is going to come back as a pivot table. But what do you guys think? Anybody have any questions on this, Andrew?
Just the one so far, but we do have a couple of seconds here if anyone has more.
Yeah.
Nicole is asking, will the results of the Copilot searches remain private and accessible only to me?
Yes. Now, in Chat GPT, just so you know, you can actually do chats, and I know Copilot is going to be adding this as well, where it's not saving it to your history. So if you're going to do a chat and you don't want it to be part of that chat history, that's going to be coming in the next few months. They're saying by the end of the year. That was a great question. Glad that was asked. So Andrew, do you use Copilot like this?
I haven't used Copilot extensively, actually. This was a lot of a learning experience for me as well. I think Jesse has Copilot so far, and maybe Vern, but we haven't sort of, doled it out to everyone yet. I will be making my request. We'll see.
Yes. Love it. Seriously.
Awesome. Okay, well, if you do have another question, go ahead. I'm just going to wrap up here. Thank you, Jolyn. That was
Yes.
awesome. For any training related questions, you can reach out to us at training@smartdolphins.com. If you have topic suggestions or anything, feel free to reach out. You can also find all of our upcoming sessions on smartdolphins.com/training. And one more quick reminder of our upcoming sessions here: Microsoft Forms on August 8th. We have Microsoft Loop on the 15th, and then Planner on the 22nd. You can go to smartdolphins.com/training to find the registration links for those.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.